Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Today I am going to be placing my caches at the secret fun spot. I'm at the location where I normally park, and I'm going to show you a couple things real quick before I gear up and start heading on. And most of it has to do with things I felt I needed to bring along with me in addition to the caches. Now, the distance I'm going to be traveling, it's approximately 4 miles to the area I'm going to be placing my caches. And then it's a 4 mile hike back. Then I'm going to get the second cache and take to the secret fun spot and then return. So all in all, I should be putting in close to about 16 miles today. And that may appear ludicrous, but I've got the entire day to do it. Right now it's 9:20, and I feel good, and I'm ready for this. And if by any chance all I can do is place one today and have to come back to rest up my knee or whatever and come back another time, I can do that. But I have planned to place both the caches today. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm going to be doing with the first trip with the first cache. This is going to be for my traditional A.L.I.C.E frame with the shelf. And I've went ahead and added the two MOLLE waist packs. This one has everything I normally have in my bushcraft patrol rig, which is all the necessities I would need to survive if I needed to, and just usable tools should I need them. Here I have a couple other items. I have some insect repellent in here, some sunscreen, and MRE. It's not broken down, and my first aid kit. Underneath, the small Coyote Brown waterproof bag, that is my ghillie blanket, and that's been lashed to the bottom. And once I get there, that's going to be coming off and going over the single cache. The other thing I did is I added some water bottle pouches to the waist belt of my kidney pad. And when I get to the location I'm going to place the caches, I'm going to be removing the cache box, placing it, and I'm going to be reattaching the MOLLE waist packs to the frame and hike on back. When I get back here, I'm going to be transferring the water bottle pouches to the belt of the kidney pad of the load frame, load panel that I have for the second round. And I'm going to be also putting the MOLLE pouches and the water bottles. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm sorry, it's been a day already, and I don't recall if I said the right things or not. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and then we're going to get to it. Right at the beginning of the game trail that I use primarily to get to the first good patch of woods, to where it opens up and I can hike through those pretty well. Let's just give you a peek at what it looks like. Now, as you can see, on either side, it is incredibly dense. And years ago, all of this has been clear cut. And I'll be collecting some of these blackberries when I get back. And unfortunately, this game trail is the only way that I can really make any decent time getting in there. And it's been pretty heavily overgrown, so I'm really gonna have to watch my step, because there's a few divots, a few probably small branches and things like that that are down, that I'm going to need to really be careful with, because I don't want to come down with this load on. And I'm going to bring it back. Let's see a couple of these little spots And I'll just go ahead and let you walk with me for just a minute or two while we're going through the beginnings of it, and then I'll bring you back when things get really interesting. Yeah, this right here is what it looks like for about 200-300 meters on either side of this game trail. And at one time, this game trail had to have been some type of an access road, but it's been long since abandoned. And I'm very blessed for the weather today. It's fairly cool. It's in the 70s right now, and it's very dewy already. From my waist on down is already soaking wet, but I'm not worried about it because the humidity is going to be very low today, and I'll be able to dry. Now this plant right here that's draped over the trail like a nice little arch, that is autumn olive. And autumn olive is a domesticated plant that now grows everywhere. It spreads very easily because the birds love to eat the berries, and they love to fly and poop. And wherever the poop lands, autumn olives can flourish. Oh. My pack is catching on everything. Okay. The trail runs like this for a good little while, and and then we're going to get to some obstacles. I'm going to bring you back when we get to the obstacles. There's several places on this little game trail, and it's probably the only clearing for a good little ways on either side of the trail that actually has any type of vegetation that's adequate for bedding. And I've seen quite a few of these so far. Just nice little areas to where deer have been bedding down. And there's several more I can see up further on the trail. And I just think that's cool. Just wanted to share it. Right here is where things start to get sort of interesting. I call this the confidence course, or the obstacle course. For some reason or another, there are all kinds of downed trees here, and I believe that this is where the derecho came through several years ago. And oh, got a little frog here. Oh, excuse me, a toad. See if we can get in there. There you are, buddy. Good and hide. Good and hide. I won't squish you. But this is the trickiest part of the entire trail. The rest of it, when you're going through the forest, it isn't bad. I mean, it's, you know, it's still miles, but they aren't riddled with obstacles like this particular spot. And again, let me just point out what I have to choose from on either side. And it's just so dense. Now, especially with my knee, I have to be very careful with how I'm going through this. It can be tricky even with perfect mobility. I'm just thankful that with the canopy overhead, that it shades it enough to prevent a lot of the undergrowth. excuse me, prevents a lot of the undergrowth. However, there are spots that are open, and we're coming up on one right now, and there's a substantial amount of greenbrier and other less than desirable items here. And this one here is always a real tricky one, because right here is much lower than where I'm standing now. Because I'm carrying my camera equipment today, and again, it's small camera equipment, but it's still camera equipment nonetheless, I'm not using my trekking poles. So I'm going to be going a little slower, a little more purposeful, especially when I'm going through the obstacle course. And that pretty much starts to open up a little more, a few less down trees, and then I can get into a proper forest. I am in the forest now, and we've got probably close to the first mile under my feet, and the temperature is absolutely fantastic right now. Very low humidity, and it's cool. Once I got into this section of the forest, wow, what a difference. What a difference. It feels significantly cooler than it was on that game trail. Now, turn you around, let you see what my forest looks like. And again, you know, this is about 1/4 of the way into it. But wow, it's just beautiful. As of right now, the load is very comfortable. I don't really feel any painful rubbing, any type of pinching or binding. Even with climbing over some of the logs in the obstacle course, I did not feel the load shift dramatically. I'm still hearing little squeaks and queaks from the straps on the cash box. Other than that, it's going pretty well. I just absolutely love this area, and I really would love to be in a position to where I could visit this location more frequently. It's just, unfortunately, life gets in the way sometimes. It's important things, it's essential things that need to be done, but unfortunately it seems like it's never ceasing. The last time that I was here in my wild camp, I had planned on coming back a few days later and doing a couple nights, but unfortunately, you know, some things needed my attention, and these types of things need to go on the back burner while I attend to important tasks and necessities. And I'm certain every single one of you that enjoy your time in the forest have the same thing. Responsibilities, obligations, they come first, especially when it's family related. That's family always comes first, should always come first. And it goes on like this for a while. Well, we are at the outskirts of the secret fun spot, and I've got about 2 miles in right now, and it's been so wonderful as far as the temperatures go and the weather. It's just been gorgeous. I'm sweating. I always sweat, but it's none of that horrible discomfort that I felt the last time I was here. I'm just going to take a little side path here. Let's see what I'm seeing as I'm making my way. It won't be too big of a detour, but just to sort of give you a little peek at some of the things you haven't yet seen. Now that little split in the rocks is one of the locations that I have visited, but you didn't see it from this angle. As you can see, for tent camping, this area here would be absolutely beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. So far the pack is doing fine. It's not nearly as comfortable as most all of my other packs. However, it's not uncomfortable to the point where I'm experiencing any pain or friction points, which I'm very, very thankful for. And if this one is going to ride this well, I can't wait to see how well the MOLLE load panel rides. But I could not come out here just for a walk straight to the cache location and then straight back. If there was any possible way I could secure someplace to park overnight that I felt my vehicle would be safe, I would be here all the time. However, that's not the case. And until that happens, I'm going to be arranging drop-offs and pickups with friends and family, especially as it gets into the fall. These roads around here are much more heavily traveled in the summer and the fall, not so much in the winter. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't have nearly the concerns I have with my vehicle if it were in the winter, even really early spring. Who knows? All right, then, enough of this lollygagging. It's time to get on with business and start to hoofing it. Now, there are some extreme changes in elevation, and some of them are quite abrupt. As you can see. I just figured I'd try to get something going to where you almost kind of have a view of the cliffs without being ridiculously dangerous, as I don't want to get grounded again. Hopefully you can see the drop off as I'm going through. And with most things I do with my camera, it's mostly experimental. One of these days I'm going to take a class. We still have good ways to go to the cache location, which would be pretty much in the center of my secret fun spot. And as of right now, the only complaint I have about the pack has nothing to do with the pack. It has to do with the water bottles. There's not proper molly webbing on the kidney pad, and as a result, there's just a couple little pieces of webbing, just a single row actually, that facilitates any type of attachment points. So therefore the water bottle's just flopping around. It's more annoying than it is anything else. And the creaks and the sounds made by the straps are a little distracting, especially when I want to hear nothing but nature. Yeah, these trees are absolutely ginormous. I really would have no way of estimating how tall they are, but they are very large. Okay, enough of the sightseeing. Time to get back to hoofing it. Got a job to do today. Can't be lollygagging. We're pretty close to 3 miles in now. We're almost there. Almost there. And, oh, it's just, I can't get over the weather. It's been so hot and humid. And my arms, for where I've been perspiring up here on the ridge, that cool breeze coming across the top of the ridge. Wow, it's almost chilly. I kind of like it. Oh. Yes, this would have been a completely different story had I've been doing this 2-3 days ago. It definitely would have been a one cache in per day. It still completely blows my mind how different this place looks with the foliage compared to this winter, this past winter. I'm going to avoid this spider web without breaking it. You know, it just boggles my mind how much work a spider can do in such a very short amount of time. I feel really bad when I accidentally walk through one. And, you know, just imagine the spider. He's standing there. It's just like, yeah, he's coming. He's coming. Yeah, maybe he'll turn. Maybe he'll turn. It's like, no, he's here. And then as soon as I walk through it, he runs off, and it's just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? It took me all night to make that. And then he turns right around and does it all over again. Wow. Wow. Okay. We're still hugging the cliff face, or the edge of the cliff. And so I pull this over here because we're almost at the overlook. And if you remember the overlook, it's not so dramatic in the summer when all the foliage is on. It's just because the trees are so huge, they're so big. And when all the foliage is on, you know, the depth of the gorge is minimal. Or it appears so. And here we go. I'm sorry for the mess up of the camera. Oh, look at that. We are almost there. Almost. Well, we are in the general area that I am going to be placing the cache. And I want to talk a little bit about how I'm going to place them before I actually get up and start looking around. And first of all, I want to avoid placing the cache anywhere that's a focal point, anything that looks interesting. That broken tree, this crevasse, anything that looks like it's going to draw someone's attention if they were to come around here is exactly what I don't want to use as a cache location. Now, and I said it again, didn't I? Oh well, oh well, oh well. There are fallen trees everywhere in this forest. Everywhere. Using a fallen tree could very easily be a decent place to hide a cache, as long as it's not in the direct path of you know, someone's attention to want to go check something out. And for the most part, I would say anyone that were to come here would want to see rock formations. They'd want to see the edges of cliffs. They'd want to see all of the pretty stuff. And they're not really going to be paying a lot of attention to what's in the background, like this. Now, I personally think this is beautiful. However, most people, if they were to come back here, as I did the first time, I followed the game trail. The game trail is it's so well traveled, it may as well be like a designated path. And, you know, and it goes right along the edge of the cliff. And you don't really pay any attention to any of this stuff. All this stuff would be, I guess, white noise in comparison to all the pretty stuff. And again, I think this is absolutely beautiful. But if I want to put a cache someplace, I want to put it where people are not going to be drawn to it. And I believe that this area is going to be my prime location. And I'm going to go to a spot that looks like it's got decent canopy coverage. I prefer it to be shaded most of the time. And that way there's no accidental little bit of wind blowing that's going to expose a corner of the cache box and cause it to reflect, drawing attention. But between my ghillie blanket and the natural foliage, which is all over the ground, just look at this. I honestly could have just used the duff here on the forest floor to just throw over my cache boxes. I didn't even need to make the ghillie blanket. But up until this very moment, I really wasn't 100% convinced as to where I was going to place the cache. I'm going to take a water break, and then I'm going to place the cache. I was just on the way to sit down to have a water break, and something caught my eye, and it was this. This is a very nice amount of chicken of the woods. I will be taking some of this home and preparing it tonight for supper. Wow, what a find. Oh, I love the woods. I have chosen my location for the cache, and it is fitting to all the criteria that I wanted. It is not in a focal point area. However, I am going to use very easily identifiable landmarks and features to be able to navigate myself to and from my cache. As I said, areas that are close to the cliff edge and really neat, cool things like this crevice focal points I'm avoiding. However, this deadfall is the first of my landmarks. I'll go up here, and this deadfall leads to another deadfall. And it just happens to be the deadfall that I found the chicken of the woods on, which is right up here. So I would follow, basically connecting the dots of these deadfalls. There's my wonderful chicken of the woods. Some of you are going to be mine. And that points right over to this cluster of trees. And that in itself could be a focal point. That might be something someone would be interested in seeing. So I'm definitely not going to use this area to hide my cache. Now, if I were to be placing a geocache, which, by the way, if you've never tried geocaching, it is fantastic. That would be a perfect spot for a geocache. However, I'm not geocaching. Right through here, almost in an L shape, from the deadfalls that were right over there to this cluster of trees, is another deadfall that is a pile of deadfalls. And this is a very tight, sort of clustered area. People probably would not even think about coming into something like this. There is the cache on the pack still. You come right back around here. This is going to be the location that I'm going to place the cache. I'm going to clear the debris out of there just a little bit. So therefore, I'm going to have some of this duff to incorporate into my ghillie blanket and hopefully be able to secure it very well. It's going to be a nice spot for both of my cache boxes and something that is very hidden in a very remote location. cache is set, and I'm going to go ahead and switch out my batteries. That way I have fresh batteries in the cameras. I'm going to eat a little bit of some of the items from the MRE for a little bit of a snack, and then I'm going to be showing you what the cache looks like when everything else is away from it, and then I'll go ahead and head on back and get the next cache. Ooh, spice pound cake. Outstanding. Actually, it smells pretty good. Excellent. I've got my snack in me. Feeling pretty good. I want to show you how I recorded this. I drew a map, and this is where I came in, and these are the features that are going to help me follow my way to my cache. There's a cluster of trees, and there we are. And I've recorded all of these in a variation of Elder Futhark. And those of you that are keen on Norse mythology and Norse history, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For my return trip, I have relocated my MA.L.I.E. waist packs. And the one buckle, I'm going to go ahead and pull that off to the side and tuck it underneath. It shouldn't be much of a problem, but we'll see once I put it on. I attached the MA.L.I.E. snaps and webbing to the crossbar that goes through here and the top bar. This is completely experimental. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. And worst case scenario, I'll just go ahead and take them off and use the straps that I use for my cache box to just strap those on the back. I've got my waterproof bag there. I'm going to collect some of the chicken of the forest or chicken of the woods and take those back to the view. Actually, I'm probably going to wait till my last trip is over to get those, so that way the heat of the automobile won't be an issue for my fungus. I'll go ahead and put that on, try it out, see how it goes. The buckles on those waist packs aren't any issue whatsoever. I don't feel them at all. It really feels weird to have this thing on without weight. I actually noticed the shoulder straps in the back now where I didn't before. It shouldn't be an issue. I do not like this waist belt as far as comparing it to an old school kidney pad. I was a little disappointed with the so-called MA.L.I.E. webbing that was on it for my water bottle pouches, which I could live with. However, the narrow belt and the very thin nature of the webbing, it doesn't seem to hold in position. I'm constantly having to tighten it back up. It's almost too slippery. So there's 2 gigs on the waist belt, and that was Hidden Woodsman. So far, the Fire Force gear shoulder straps are doing absolutely fantastic. I want to show you my cache. Hopefully you can't see my cache, but it's going to be much better camouflaged when I return with the second one and put it in a position. Now I'm trying not to walk too frequently around this area, as I don't want to have any signs of me being here. There's a couple little spots where I'm standing, and I'm going to go ahead and fluff those up a little bit before I leave with the second cache, so everything should be fairly invisible. And by the time I come back, get the other one on there, put some more natural camouflage on there, it is going to be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and start making my way back to the vehicle. Hopefully everything will be going well. My knee will still be in the condition it's in right now, which is doing real good. I'm being real careful with it, and I've been doing some physical therapy with it at home to do everything I can to avoid surgery, and so far it seems to be working very, very well. I'm back to the vehicle, and there's just something about up that I don't think I will ever like. Oh, I'm so glad the bulk of my weight is down on the lower portion of the bridge. And I'm going to go ahead and get these MOLLE pouches switched over to the other pack and get her on and get her done. Now I've got everything reconfigured on my pack, and this is going to be a butt kicker. I have everything that I had in it when I did my first video on this MOLLE load panel. I have a basic camp in it. I have my light fighter one, my whoopee, things like that, a stove. And I also have the two MOLLE waist packs fixed on here as well. And I'm also going to have 2 liters of water in the water bottle pouches. You already know how I feel about the water bottle pouches. The weight of this is going to be right around a little over 50 pounds with the water, and as a result it's going to be heavy, definitely compared to the last one I took. As a result, I'm not going to be doing any filming until I actually get to the secret fun spot and where the other cache is, and then I'm going to unload the cache, show you when it's all said and done. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to reconfigure this MOLLE panel to get everything I'm taking with me back. Well, about 3/4 of the way there, and the pack is doing very, very well. Very well. The sounds and the creaks and the squeaks that I was getting from the straps on the other one are basically almost non-existent here, so I'm not getting nearly the noise. As far as the load carrying goes, my shoulders are fine. My hips are carrying a good bit of the weight, so I'm actually feeling it on my skeleton, on my hips, and not on the outside, not on the muscular area. And that's just because I'm old, and yeah, that stuff happens. But wow, that's gorgeous. Give you a little peek here real quick, and then I'll blather on for a few more minutes. But I've been taking it very slow, and so far it's not been an issue for my knee. I can feel it. I can feel pressure, but I haven't had any of those stabbing pains like I used to have. So between a lot of prayer, a lot of God's grace, and some physical therapy, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. You got to look at this. I know. I said I wasn't going to film anything until I got back to the secret fun spot and was planting my caches, but you know what? The one thing you have to remember when you're carrying a load like this is that you do not have your proper balance. Oh, but it's riding well. It's riding well. I don't know if it's the load. I don't know if it's the pack. I don't know if it was just a fluke of the manufacturing. But so far, this kidney pad, this waist belt, feels better than the other one. And only until literally I stopped to get this camera up and running did the belt slip. So it did very well for almost 3 miles without me messing with it. Now it's wet with sweat, and it's going to happen just like it happened before. When I go to adjust, it's going to slide back out because it's so thin. Very, very thin. I think way too thin to do the job that it was intended to do. Oh, we'll shut up for now and bring you back here a little bit when I actually do get to the cache location. I'm coming up onto the cache site. Oh, I will tell you right now, I am going to be 100% completely honest with you. This has kicked my butt. I am going to be a very happy fellow to take this off of me. All in all, I don't think there's any fault in this configuration as far as the MOLLE load panel goes. I think the MOLLE load panel is exceptional. I take all this stuff off. I see any wear and tear on it. That'll tell me something about it that I don't know right now. The waist belt, don't really care for it. If and when I can, I will try to order one from Fire Force Gear and just see what the quality difference is. I mean, this one is okay. It's okay. And before I do anything else, I need to take one of my rucksacks out with a comparable amount of weight in it. It has the kidney pad and everything with it. And just to see what old school feels like compared to this. I mean, other than a couple things, I mean, it's comfortable enough. And I'd say putting a few miles on it, I'm going to be able to see where any wears are and things like that, see if there's any stress points that looks like they've been fatigued. But I know I've probably got a few. Yeah, I'm whooped. I'm going to go to the cache location. I want to ground this, get a drink of water, and then I'll place this cache. I grounded my pack a little ways away from the actual cache location. One of the things I forgot to mention is when you're setting a cache, usually you're in there one time, you set it up and you leave. This has 2 boxes, it's going to be in the same location. What I did, I came in, I set the first box, I left on a different route than I went in. I'm at a different location starting off than I was when I set the last cache. So therefore, I'm going to be going in a different route again, and I will leave by yet a fourth and separate route. So that way I'm not in any way, shape, or form making any semblance of a path. That thing looks pretty huge sitting there. And it felt pretty ginormous when I was carrying it. I'm going to go ahead and pop a squat, have some water, and I'm going to take the cache out. I'm going to set it, and I'm going to finish up that MRE I started a few hours ago. Yeah, I had a little water, cool down a little bit. It's really, I mean, the temperature today is absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have picked a better day to do this. It's just wonderful. I want to show you the components of my pack. There's the MOLLE waist packs, the cache, the MOLLE load panel, and the 2 pouches that are in there with my camp in it. And I'm not seeing any stress whatsoever on any of these buckles or any of the webbing, even down in that little bucket area, the base. I mean, it rode very, very well. Now granted, this is the first time use, but considering I've never seen this thing before. I've seen like the panel, and you can buy the side pouches separately, and I think combined with 2 side pouches and the MOLLE panel, you're looking at almost $300 right there. And it was ludicrous, but that was the only thing I've ever been able to find like this. And I didn't know what kind of quality was. By looking at it, it looked like everything was very well done. Definitely appears military spec to me. And considering how it was supposed to be military, the lack of any tags, any labeling, nothing. It was devoid of anything like that. The plastic bag that it came in was just a plastic bag. That was all there is to it. So I'm very, very pleased. It's every bit the quality that the actual GI issue MOLLE waist packs were, if not better. The design is fantastic. Yes, I am very, very pleased with that pack. Had I had a different style of container, something that was lighter weight, the load would have been, I think, what? Oh God, I forget what the actual weight was on the cache box, but I'm thinking, for some reason, I'm thinking it was like 17 pounds, something like that. That would have drastically reduced my weight considerably. So, well, I'm going to put that box up. I'm going to cover it up, camo it up. Now I'm going to walk on back to my Jeep and go, I'm going to call it a day. I'm just going to call it a day, okay? Okay. The cache is placed and camouflaged. See, someone just happened to be walking through here. They're looking around. They're looking around. They're looking around. They're looking around. A lot of interesting things to look at. But right there is the cache. And as this summer turns into fall, and we have a fresh batch of evergreen needles and leaves and sticks and all kinds of things like that falling down on and around it, it's going to help conceal it even more. If you noticed, I was wearing gloves this time when I was clearing out the debris to place the first cache box. I was stung by yellow jacket, and as soon as I was stung, I immediately began to look around to see if I inadvertently had placed my cache near a yellow jacket's nest. And even after I turned the camera off, I hung around for quite some time, and the only activity was that single yellow jacket. But it's definitely something I'm going to record on my little map, and so that way it's for future reference if it's at all warm when someone needs to access it. They need to take that in consideration. It's been my experience, as long as you're not actively disturbing the actual nest, you're usually pretty good to go. I've been stung many times by yellow jackets in the past, and never was at any fault other than my own. And situational awareness is key when it comes to things like that. I'm not allergic to any type of stings or bites or medicines or anything else. I'm very blessed that way. And my hand got a little swollen, but I don't have to worry about things like anaphylactic shock and horrible nastiness like that. Well, my job here is done. Now I'm going to enjoy the rest of that MRE and repack my load panel, and then I'll be headed back. Now before I pack up my pack, I want to get me some of this chicken of the woods. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this stuff before. It's in a world of meat substitute products, this has to rank naturally with the best, because it really does taste like chicken. There's a lot of bugs in this. I'll try to get rid of most of those I can. When you cut this, you want to cut it to where it's a little ways away from the wood, the log, because it has a tendency to taste a little woody. And when I get this back to the house, I'm pretty much only going to be using this amount through here to the edges. This stuff right through here is usually just a little, has the tannins of the wood in them. And I'm not going to take a whole lot, because a lot of critters out here in the forest like this too. I could be selfish and take all of it, but I'm not going to. Make sure I get as many bugs off there as I can. And I think this amount, this one cluster, is going to be more than sufficient for my supper. I'll get and take this one too. Let me show you how I'm going to reconfigure this pack. Now, my original idea was to utilize these MOLLE sections here and to attach them there. And normally I could do that. However, Take a look at this. They are a good bit wider than the back panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load both of them in like this in the little bucket, and then sandwich the outer pouches around it just like I did the cache. Just going to give you a quick peek on what it looks like reconfigured. I have the two MOLLE waist packs in here, and cinch them down with the actual MOLLE panel straps and the side pouch straps. And I just ran my Chicken of the Woods fungus through one of the MOLLE attachments on the back panel, and that'll hold there quite nicely, I believe. Now it's time to make the trek back to my vehicle. It's been a beautiful day, been a fantastic day, and if all goes well, I'll be able to get home in time for supper. Look, maybe a little bit late, but that's okay. That's okay. It's been a good day. I'm allowed to be late on good days. A couple things I wanted to mention on my way out. One of which, the MRE that I ate today. And you've seen me eat enough. But I will actually be doing a review on that one. The same one I ate today, a little later on. And that might be one I film while I'm doing some of my wild camping out here. That was given to me, actually a case of those MREs, and given to me by my island hopping brother and BIC Jay Neighbors. And when he purchased several cases, excuse me, he had found out after he ordered them they were vegan. And to be perfectly honest with you, this thing I had today was pork ribs, imitation, and it was pretty good. It was a lot better than the nasty chicken loaf that I had with the first MREs, the first generation of MREs that came out. Oh my Lord, that was hideous. You know, I think that I never found feet, I never found beaks or eyeballs, or wattles or combs or feathers in them, but I think they used every other part of the chicken. I even bit into several bones when I ate those things. That was definitely my least favorite. No, I take that back. Chicken A.L.I.C.E was my least favorite MRE, but it was absolutely horrible. This was actually very good. It was very tasty, and like I said, I'll do a review on that at another time. Also, you might be wondering, since I have my camp with me, why am I not camping? Well, unfortunately, you know, it's one of those life things. I have to be home tomorrow, and from pretty much sunup, and to leave here and to be back home tomorrow by 7 a.m. It just, I get up several hours before sunup, and I don't really want to do that. If all goes well, I'll be wild camping here in 3 days, and then I'll finally be able to get back in a swing of doing wild camp videos. And as long as we're continuing to have weather that's this absolutely amazing, I am going to exploit any opportunity I possibly can to get into the woods. Oh, I'm back at the Jeep, and my glutes is talking to me, and they're saying, John, you are an old man. You are an idiot. What did you think you were doing? Wow. My glutes aren't being nice to me right now. I don't think I'll talk to them for a little while, even though they're screaming at me. Oh, you know, it's about about 5:30, and I'm going to go ahead and take this pack off and share some final thoughts and sign off and get back home, and hopefully I'll have time to make my chicken of the forest. Just do a real quick wrap up here. I think all the way around the gear, even the gear that failed, probably did a little bit better than I did. I did okay though. I'm pleased. I've been riding my bike a lot lately, and had I not been riding my bike, I wouldn't have been able to do this. I might have been able to do one day, come back another, and do the other. I wouldn't have been able to do this a few months ago. There's just no way. I wasn't fit enough. Let's go over real quick what I think were successes and failures. The A.L.I.C.E load frame. I probably could definitely go with a thinner pad on this. Other than that, it rode very well. It was very comfortable, and I don't even think my back came in contact with the back pad here. The shoulder straps, outstanding. It worked very well. The waist strap and kidney pad, a couple things that rode okay. I think that the belt strap is way too thin, and the material isn't thick enough to hold tooth in the buckles when you adjust them. Especially once they get soaked with sweat, they're done for. They won't hold tight. You almost have to figure out something where you can Velcro them after you have them adjusted. But as they are right now, I don't think that they did well. My MOLLE load panel, I think this did absolutely fantastic. I loved the ability to be able to play with these MOLLE waist pouches and to use those in different ways. And I think that this is an interesting configuration. And the nice thing about this is, like, I've got all my bushcraft patrol rig items in here. That's everything that's a must-have that I take to the woods in one thing. I could take this out of here, put it around my waist, but I just heard, now just a rumor, but I heard fanny packs are coming back. So, you know, that I'd be in style if I were to, you know, utilize this in the forest. I know the animals would really think I was Gucci. This rode very well, held up pretty well. The same thing, I have the same shoulder straps on this pack as I did this. They perform very well. The waist strap on this did better than the other. I don't know what the situation is with that. Just inconsistencies in quality control. I don't know. One other failure was the Condor water bottle pouch. This was purchased not too long ago, and years ago when Condor first started producing multicam gear, it was good quality. Now it's almost like it's costume kit. It'd be good for putting on for cosplay or something like that, but it is unworthy to purchase for actual field use. Now, I purchased a couple other items from Condor about the same time I purchased these, and everything about them is inferior to the first year or two that they were producing kit. And back then, it was good quality merchandise. I mean, it was made very well. I still have a lot of the stuff that's been heavily used, and when you do a side-by-side comparison, you know, there's no comparison. The new stuff, garbage. I would not recommend it. None of the new stuff that I've bought from them would I recommend. But that pack right there, yeah, I'm very pleased. It rode very comfortably, and I don't have any soreness from the pack because I wear suspenders, because I'm old, and some reason or other old people just can't keep their pants up like they used to. I noticed that my suspenders were pushing against my skin, so having my suspenders between the shoulder straps and my skin, my body, that was noticeable. But it was in no way, shape, or form anything that was going to be detrimental for me doing what I needed to do today. If I was going to be, putting in several days of 16-mile days, that might be an issue, and I would have to figure something out with these, um, or get some additional padding or something. But that was the only, I think, pain or discomfort that came from either of these two packs. Uh, I'm very pleased with both of them, and I think as far as like the A.L.I.C.E frame goes, instead of using nylon webbing for these to secure any type of load, I think I'm going to go with those old trucker rubber bungees. I mean, you can cut them to length. You drill your own hole. There's also companies that sell like a tube of the same type of material, and they have different types of hooks where you can run it through and secure them. And just to hook those bungees on the frame and be able to pull those, I think it would hold it well enough. Maybe have one strap on there, just to have one item of rigid line there to hold it secure. But with the padding that's here, I think that the bungee would pull that close enough, and this would absorb some of that energy. If it was straight metal on metal, I would probably have to come up with something else to do that with. That, which it is, performed very well for me today, and I would have no problem using that type of configuration in the future. I prefer trying it with bungees. I'll experiment with that, and however that goes, I'll let you know. Well, folks, that is that. I want to get on home and get a shower and get some supper. So, as always, folks, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.